Hey, I'm in a really difficult situation regarding my daughter right now, and I would really appreciate a different perspective and some clarity right now. Please try to be kind since my daughter is still my daughter, and refrain from cruel comments/messages. So, I am a 40-year-old man and have a 16-year-old daughter, Jessica. I was married to my wife, a 40-year-old female, for 18 years, and we would have been celebrating our 18th wedding anniversary this year, but she decided to cheat on me with a co-worker of hers and ruined our wonderful marriage. My wife and I had met in college and got married right after because we were that sure of each other, so this cut ran deep. I found out last year when I decided to surprise my wife by coming back home early from a business trip and found Ryan in my kitchen with his arms wrapped around my wife while she laughed and looked happier than ever. Jessica was also in the house at the time and was watching Netflix in the living room when I walked in on them. Nobody tried to deny anything, and nobody tried to fix things. What's done was done, and it could never be undone. I filed for divorce within a week of that incident, and about 3 months back my divorce was finalized and I was finally free. I walked away with a whopping $75,000 and some of my wife's jewelry. My ex-wife could keep the house because it had already been ruined for me by Ryan, and if I kept it, I probably would have had to burn the kitchen down. Nothing could fill the void in my life that my wife and daughter had left, but $75,000 was still something. Jessica had also cut me out of her life back when I'd filed for divorce and had pretty much forced me not to fight the custody battle because she'd made it very clear that she wanted to be with her mother and Ryan, not me. So with a heavy heart, I agreed to let my ex-wife have full custody because there was no point in fighting a losing battle. And the reason that my daughter had mentioned was not just insulting but also really hurtful, which is why I didn't fight for her. 4 or 5 days after I'd filed for divorce and my wife had been served, my daughter reached out to me through text and told me that she didn't want me to have joint custody after the divorce because Ryan wasn't comfortable with me still being a part of her life, or her mother's life. I still had visitation rights, but my daughter told me that she didn't even want to visit, so the rights didn't matter. Jessica also preferred it this way because she believed that Ryan was just inherently better and fit in with the family and lifestyle that she'd always envisioned, which I, her biological father, never did. I wasn't rich enough, I wasn't fit enough, I wasn't good-looking enough, and I looked older than my age, so she felt embarrassed to introduce me to her friends as her dad. Meanwhile, Ryan made a decent living, and since he wasn't a father yet and neither had he worked tirelessly for his family for almost 2 decades, he looked good, went to the gym regularly, and could just generally afford to present himself nicely. Meanwhile, I just looked like any other dad. Yeah, I did have a little tummy, but I wasn't obese, and I also didn't earn as much as my wife did, but it wasn't like I was way behind her career-wise either. But I couldn't deny the things that my daughter had said since they were all very true. And that was a huge blow to me and my self-esteem, because this was coming from my own flesh and blood. Ryan did actually fit in better, and together they did look like a picture-perfect family. He wasn't earning less than his partner, and neither did he look flabby beside my ex-wife and daughter, both of whom had always been blessed with a smaller frame and didn't put on weight easily, so they didn't even need the gym. While I always looked out of place with them with my dad bod, and yeah, while the fact that I made less money than my wife wasn't exactly written on my face, I knew that and my wife knew that, and so did my daughter, so I wasn't particularly happy about that either. Jessica's words cut deep, and I was already really hurt by the fact that she seemed to already know that her mother was having an affair for almost 6 months and never bothered to tell me about it. We hadn't spoken much after I'd walked in on them that day, and I'd kept waiting and hoping against hope for my daughter to speak to me at some point and tell me that she wasn't covering up for her mother, but instead received the message that I did. It caused me an immense amount of pain, but I decided to respect my daughter's wishes and didn't reach out to her after that, since she'd made it clear to me that I was no longer welcome to be a part of her life. If Ryan was the father she wanted, then Ryan was the father she'd have. My wife even tried to get me to terminate my parental rights altogether after that, but I think Ryan convinced her not to, probably because he wasn't ready to adopt Jessica yet. We haven't spoken in almost a year, and I really did miss my daughter, but I didn't know how to get her back either, so I channeled all my pain and anger into improving myself instead. I started going to the gym and eating better to get in shape, a habit that I'd left behind after marriage and kids because both my wife and I were working full-time and didn't have time for these things. I also decided to join my friend in a business that he just started half a year ago, right in the middle of my divorce. I figured that things were already not going well, so I might as well take the leap of faith and quit the dead-end job that I'd been working at for the last couple of years, only because I had to spend fewer hours at work and could come back home earlier to my family. But now that I had no family to speak of, I could work all the damn time and it wouldn't matter. So that's what I did, and luckily, it paid off since now I'm earning probably just as much as my wife did, if not more. I did manage to get my life on track professionally and health-wise, but my personal life still was a mess. I've been going to therapy to make sense of everything, and it's helped to keep me afloat, but I still struggle with coming to terms with the fact that my own daughter wants nothing to do with me, just because my ex-wife's new affair partner didn't want her to. 3 months have passed since my divorce was finalized, and I thought that this was my new life now, but, out of the blue, my daughter contacted me 2 weeks ago and asked to meet me. I was taken aback, but I agreed because I thought that she was finally coming around and wanted to repair her relationship with me. So, a week ago, I picked her up after school and we went to a restaurant nearby for lunch. She was very quiet on our way there, and there was a lot of tension, but that was normal since we hadn't seen or spoken to each other in almost a year. I tried to ask her about school and how she'd been, but she didn't seem too eager to make conversation. Once we were sitting in our booth at the restaurant, I finally decided to ask her what exactly had made her change her mind, and why she'd asked me to meet her today, because I didn't see the point of beating around the bush anymore. She broke down when I asked her that and just started crying, which really surprised me because she seemed pretty normal during the car ride there. I tried to comfort her and get her to stop crying, but she just kept sobbing silently for around 10 minutes. I was concerned, and once she seemed to calm down a little, I told her that she could tell me whatever was bothering her, and I'd try my best to make it better for her. By then, I was sure that this breakdown of hers had something to do with her mother and Ryan, because had it been about school or boys, then she probably would have gone to her mother instead of me. And she confirmed it for me by telling me that ever since my divorce had been finalized, Ryan had started showing his true colors at home. My ex-wife got married to him in a small ceremony just 2 weeks after our divorce was finalized, so now the two of them are legally married, and Ryan is Jessica's stepdad now. She'd assumed that now that he was committed to her mother, Ryan would finally agree to adopt her as her own daughter, and her family would be complete. But he said he still wasn't ready. My ex-wife was fine with it and told Jessica that he'd come around eventually, but that didn't happen, and instead his behavior towards Jessica changed drastically after the marriage. He gave up all pretense of being. She told me that he kept putting her down every chance he'd get, and kept telling her that she wasn't wanted at home and they'd be better off without her. He told her that he'd kick her out soon enough, just like he'd kicked me out, so she'd better start preparing for that day. Apparently, the only reason he'd been kind to Jessica before he married my ex-wife was because he wanted to win her over, and he had no intention of continuing that act anymore. Now that he and my ex-wife were finally together, he wanted my daughter out of the way. Jessica had tried to keep things quiet for a while, hoping that things would change, but a week and a half ago she decided that she couldn't take this behavior anymore because it was affecting her more than she'd like to admit. This sudden realization that Ryan had only been using her, being extra kind to her, buying her things, and treating her like his own daughter was all just an act, and she was being used by him to impress her mother, was just too much for her to take. And even her grades had started slipping, since she was almost always worrying about the situation at home. So she decided to tell her mother, but instead of taking her daughter's side, my ex-wife told Jessica that she was just overthinking this and that Ryan was the perfect fit for the family, so she wasn't going to do anything that might damage their relationship. Which was just code for, I don't believe you, and even if I did, Ryan comes above you. Her mother's decision not to interfere meant that Ryan would continue talking down to her and bullying her all the time at home, and out of fear she contacted me as a last resort to apologize to me for whatever she'd said and done, and ask for help to bail her out of this situation that she was in. She told me that she now knew that she'd messed up big time in the past, and that she wanted a chance to mend our relationship now, and also wanted me to do something about her situation as soon as possible. I'll admit, I was really shocked that this had been going on for a while now. It wasn't surprising that Ryan had turned out to be a jerk and a bully, but as far as I was concerned, my ex-wife had always been a proactive and loving mother. which is a huge reason why I didn't fight the legal battle for Jessica's custody. Mostly because my daughter wanted to stay with my ex-wife, but also because I did know that at least she'd be cared for by her mother, even if Ryan couldn't love her more than I did. But to learn that even my ex-wife wasn't ready to step up and put Ryan in his place for our daughter's sake was shocking. I was confused regarding what exactly my daughter wanted me to do, so I asked her if she wanted to move in with me, and she said that she couldn't because she didn't want to change schools, and where I lived now was quite a distance from where she went to school. But I'm sure it's just because she doesn't want to live apart from her mother, so filing for full or joint custody was out of the question since that's not what she wanted. I asked her if she wanted me to have a word with her mother, even though I hadn't spoken to her after I found out about the affair, and I didn't even know if that would help or not. When I asked her that, she got agitated and said that I was being very unhelpful, which really rubbed me the wrong way, because the only solution I could see to this problem was her moving out of that house, which she wasn't ready to do. So what the heck did she expect me to do? I'm not a magician. I can't just fix things to be exactly the way she wants them to be. So we got into a little argument about what to do next, and she just kept getting more and more annoyed and eventually just got up and left after saying that this was totally pointless. I felt hurt and went home disappointed with how the meeting had gone. Since that day, my daughter has been texting me daily, asking me if I've thought of any solutions, and every single day I have to disappoint her by saying that no, the only way out is for her to live with me instead. But she doesn't agree with that and declines every damn time. It's frustrating to say the least, and I can tell that she feels the same way, but there's just no way out if she doesn't give up something or the other. 2 days ago, I finally lost my temper and told her that she could either live with her mother or she could live with me, but she can't have her cake and eat it too, not at this point at least. She needs to choose between living with her mother and putting up with Ryan, or living with me and leaving her mother behind. I really can't help her otherwise. I told her this on the phone and she started yelling at me, accusing me of being too laid back as a father and never trying to stand up for her or fight for her. She was referring to the fact that I had chosen not to fight for her custody back when I filed for divorce, which in my opinion is kind of unfair. The only reason I didn't fight to have custody or just fight for her to visit me and keep in touch with me was because I didn't want her to be unhappy and do something against her will. I know she's in her teens, and there's that whole angsty phase that they go through, but this is really painful for me. I didn't even imagine that my daughter would use something that I did in the past just because she'd ask me to. And I can't understand why she wants to live with her mother even now when she knows for a fact that her mother wants to put Ryan above her. None of it makes sense, and I don't think she can make sense of the situation either, but is pinning all the blame on me just because it's convenient. I tried to explain to her that I would have fought for her custody back then if she'd wanted me to, but I refrained because of what she'd told me and nothing else. But she just kept getting more and more aggravated. She disconnected the call after saying that if I didn't have a solution to this, then there was no need for me to contact her anymore. Now I really have no idea what to say to her. Obviously, I feel really bad about what she's going through, and I'm even willing to forgive the past and start afresh for her sake. But if she's not willing to leave her mother's side, then there's not much I can do for her. I don't know what she expects me to do or what she even wants. I'm just lost right now, and her accusations that I didn't fight for her enough have just made things worse for me. I have no idea whether what I did back then was right or wrong. I just assumed I was doing the right thing because that's what Jessica had asked me to do. She wanted me to stay away, so I stayed away and didn't fight back. She's just 16, but she's still old enough to know what should be said and what shouldn't. Back then, she knew that she was saying something that would hurt me, and it was deliberate. I can forgive her for what she said, but I don't know if I can take the blame for it. So am I the a-hole for not fighting for my daughter's custody after she had told me that she preferred her mother's new partner over me? Update 1. So I read all the messages. I went through the comments. First of all, thank you everyone for all the kindness that has been shown to me here. Also, thanks for going easy on my daughter. We're both just trying to figure life out, and we do make mistakes. I took the advice that most people gave me here and decided to meet her again and talk things out with her calmly, because getting mad and fighting with a 16-year-old was not going to help me get anywhere. She was acting her age, but I think I was letting my emotions get the better of me. So a few days back I picked her up from school yet again and asked if she wanted to visit my new house, which she hadn't seen yet, and she said yes. Once we got to my house, I sat her down and explained to her that while I forgave her for whatever she'd said back in the past about me not being as good as Ryan, I couldn't just forget about it and pretend it never happened, which is why I'd been a little short with her. That being said, I also truly wanted to help her out, because no matter what, she was still my little girl and she means the most to me in the whole world. Had it not been for her own words, I never would have let her go and live with her mom. After I explained that to her, she seemed to get teary-eyed again and confessed that she just didn't feel ready to live without her mother and wanted both of us, but couldn't put up with Ryan's behavior either anymore, which is why she'd been so confused and lost these past couple of days. And while I do love my daughter, I had to dole out some tough love as well, which I hadn't done earlier, and that had led her to make a lot of bad decisions. So I told her very bluntly that her mother was not the same woman she used to be, and I would strongly suggest moving out of that household before Ryan got his way and had her kicked out or she herself felt forced to leave. I put it very plainly for her to realize what was going to happen eventually and hope that she would understand what I was getting at. And she did. She finally did. And agreed that she needed to get out right away because she had absolutely no one in her corner in that house, so things would only get worse for her here onwards. So she's decided to stay with me here and has informed her mother about it too. She called her mom a few hours back, and while my ex-wife did seem surprised, she didn't try to stop it. Jessica knows where she stands now and tries really hard to hide her disappointment about the fact that her mother had just suddenly stopped caring at all. It's sad, and I wish I could do something for her, but I can't. So I'm doing what I can and being there for her as a father right now. This is the most that I can do right now. My daughter is taking a nap in the guest room, and after she wakes up, we'll go shopping for some clothes and toiletries that she's going to need. It's weird getting to be a dad again after so long, but I'm glad that she came around and we were able to fix things. I've already spoken to my lawyer and we're going to file for full custody tomorrow itself, now that my daughter is okay with it. Update 2. Okay, so my lawyer and I filed for full custody today. It felt surreal to say the least. But it's done now, and I hardly think that my ex-wife is going to fight for Jessica, seeing how she's only interested in Ryan now. I guess she got sick of our family and being a mother, which is why she first kicked me out and then made sure that her daughter was out as well. It's just sad that she just decided to step back from her duties as a wife and a mother one day and then never looked back or even thought about what became of the people she was leaving behind, me and her own daughter. She's no longer the woman I used to know, and it's super disappointing, but at least I have my daughter back now. So that's something to be happy about. I got her some new clothes, and after she comes back from school today, we'll go to her mother's house to collect her things so she can properly move in with me. The school's kind of far, but it's not much of a distance, so I'll drop her off and pick her up on my way to work. This is my new life as a single dad, I suppose. It feels nice to be a father again. Update 3. Hi, everyone. So my wife was served a couple of days ago, and she didn't want joint custody at all, so she signed off on the arrangement without much fuss, just as I'd expected. Jessica was kind of disappointed, but I'm trying to comfort her to the best of my abilities. We've also decided to start therapy, the two of us, to rebuild our relationship from scratch. The things she said back during my divorce still sting sometimes, and if I want to be a good father, I can't let that happen. And the past year has definitely been troubling for her, to say the least. So, individual therapy as well as counseling for the both of us is probably going to help us out in the long run now that we're all we have. I'm hoping we're able to heal from the past and from whatever her mother put us through so that we have a bright future ahead of us. Keep us in your prayers, and thank you so much for all the love and kindness that you guys have shown me.